Africans, why are we scared of speaking this aspect of history? The Muslim-Arab slave trade is the longest and the most brutal slave trade in the history of Africa. But this is a conversation we don't want to discuss because we are scared of saying that Islam, just as Christianity, came to Africa through slave trade. The people who brought Islam to Africa brought it through inhuman enslavement of Africans. Islam came into Africa through the brutal enslavement of innocent African women and children. It was around December 639 AD when an Arab military general named Amir ibn al-As invaded Egypt with the capacity of 4,000 soldiers. The occupation of Egypt by the Arab Muslims marked the beginning of the Arab slave trade in Africa since the 7th century AD and before the European transatlantic slave trade in the mid-15th century. From the 10th to the 19th century, 7,000 to 10,000 Africans were transported each year from East Africa to North Africa. The journey across the desert was very gruesome and brutal, where innocent Africans who succeeded in reaching a place of drinking water died instantly before having a taste of that water. The Arab Muslims gave out African women to Chinese emperors who sexually abused them as sex slaves. It is believed that African women who became pregnant for Chinese lords and kings were buried alive with their baby. The Chinese believe that having a black child from a black woman is nothing else but bringing a curse to the Chinese empire. The Arab slave trade showed no mercy to African people. African women who are unable to walk were killed out of anger by the Arabs, who sees it as bad markets. African men who could not move due to tiredness from the desert were slaughtered from their throats. African women were raped continuously by the Arabs, who forcefully took them from their African communities. This is a conversation we are supposed to have, but many of you love TikTok comedy videos than your African history. The fact is that over 80,000 Africans were killed in the desert each year by the Arab Muslims. North Africa is no longer African. The Arabs have reduced the population of the region and introduced their Arabic culture, just as they have done in Egypt. Look at Egypt today. They are repainting the ancient artwork of our African ancestors from black to white. They are destroying the Negroid features of our artifacts built by our ancient African ancestors. In 1378, an Arab Muslim named Mohammed San-Adia, who was a racist, blew up the nose of the African Sphinx because he cannot stand an African nose, which is a Negroid nose.